Ed, are you good if we start with the Board of Visitors and the budget here?
Yeah, I think that's probably the top of mind subject for most Virginia Tech fans, especially based on some of those haikus. So yeah, let's go ahead and start there.
So, if you are a Virginia Tech fan, you're probably aware of what we're about to talk about. If you're not a Virginia Tech fan, you can fast forward a little bit to skip this. But if you don't know, Virginia Tech has made plan has what is that Trump line? What is it called? Workings of a plan, framework of a plan. What is it? What is it called?
Something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, they have the
they've
frame.
there
The,
are leaked Board of Visitors slides of a budget that will be voted on a week from tonight, I believe. So
yes.
the budget that they are proposing at the next Board of the Visitors meeting on the 30th has come across the timeline and across the internet. That's what this is.
Yes. So we have the frameworks of a plan, and here's what they are. So the cliff notes are this: Virginia Tech was near the bottom of ACC spending when it came to athletics. There have been multiple numbers that have been put around. I've seen 122, I've seen 146. The TLDR on this is it was not enough. It was not nearly enough for what the university needed to be doing. So, based upon this proposal in 2026, we are adding $47.1 million to that proposed budget. It was projected to be 156.8. It's going up to 190. And then in 27, we're adding 61 million to get to 204. In 28, we're adding 60.6 to get to 207.3. And then in 29, we're adding 6.6 to get to $212.1 million. So here's the breakdown. Virginia Tech will raise student fees by $100. Now, Virginia Tech has the lowest fee in Virginia for public institutions. This is essentially one of the many line items that are added to your tuition. For reference here, Virginia Tech is charging $437, but UVA is charging $763. JMU is charging nearly $2,500. Virginia is actually more expensive than any state I looked at. NC State, you're at $232 per year, and then Georgia Tech is at $254, and Clemson's at $300. My stance: I hate fees being raised. With that said, as long as the government is going to approve student loans and students will pay for it, like I don't know what to tell you other than like we should be competing, and we have not done our job with fundraising, and the money has to come from somewhere. If students are going to pay it. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but what I'm basically saying is like, if this is a lever you can pull, you have to pull that lever.
Yeah, and we're behind our in-state peers in terms of what those numbers look like. Now that's skewed because Virginia state schools or the Virginia schools are way higher on that end of the spectrum than around the country.
Mm-hmm.
All that tells me is that NC State, Georgia Tech, Clemson, get ready because your fees are getting raised too. But from a Virginia Tech standpoint, yeah, you have to pull that lever. I believe they're doing so in the quickest rate they can increase them based on state law.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just they couldn't just go from whatever it was last year to the $2,000 JMU's charging. They have to do it incrementally. So that's what they're planning to do, and that's what's shown on these budget projections is a gradual increase in revenue from those student fees. But look, Virginia Tech is what it is as a university because of football. The profile of the university relies on and was built on the football program and in turn athletics. So you have to do what you have to do in order to feed that machine. And look, sports, and football being the biggest one is a huge marketing arm. There's not all these new dorms and new campuses in Northern Virginia and all these things that Virginia Tech has going on now if it's not for football. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to feed that machine. And like you said, it's unfortunate that that cost gets passed down to the students, but I'm not really sure how else you're supposed to do it. You've seen what JMU's done.
Yeah.
Good football coach after good football coach after good football coach, and trickles down into all their other sports, and that is being paid for by those student fees. So Virginia Tech's just trying to catch up to the in-state peers in terms of this thing.
And I'm certainly not going to pretend to be a state law expert. I'm getting most of my information from the wonderful Doug Bowman, who's done an incredible job. And yes, there's a cap on how much you can raise fees by. There's also an institutional support cap. And from what I glean, it can only go up 5% per year. I think, look, there's so much minutia and so much that goes into this that we're really not going to be your subject matter experts for this. We
No.
encourage you to do your own research. But here are some of the pros and the cons that I see from this. First of all, pros. The national perception is that the school is invested. Whether that is true or untrue or to be seen, Virginia Tech has done a masterful job with PR. This last week of PR for Virginia Tech has been better than it probably has ever been. You got Bruce Arians on the Pat McAfee show. You got Ross Dellinger. It wasn't Ross Dellinger. It was Pete Thamel breaking the news on Good Morning USA on College Game Day. And you have like Pete Nakos talking about it. So everybody is talking about it. And in a time where you're flirting with coaches, you're flirting with agents, like all of the PR around Virginia Tech is overwhelmingly positive, and it looks like they're ponying up to be good at football. We also shined a light on how much we have dragged our feet over the last decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades. And that's why I have so much respect after going through these last 3-ish years for Kenny Brooks, for Buzz Williams, for Justin Fuente, for so many of these different coaches, Pete DeMoore, like Coach Dresser, Coach Roby. Like the fact that they were able to have as much success as they did in varying degrees, given the lack of institutional support that we have had, should absolutely be celebrated, in my opinion. So that was kind of a pro and a shot at the same time. And I would also say another pro, and the last pro, is the fans do feel good. I think people are excited. I think people are glad to see this happen, or supposedly happening. It's being voted on. It's very funny. Anytime we talked about it, I feel like a lot of people were totally unaware that this was happening, or like assumed that it wouldn't happen. And when the news broke a couple days ago, it was met with surprise and also some question marks, which we'll get into in the cons. But that's what I have for my pros.
Yeah, I think one other point that I have on the whole why you have to do this is, and it says this on the Board of Visitors slides too, like the impact that a thriving Virginia Tech athletics department and a thriving football program has on the region and the state is significant. This isn't just like the town of Blacksburg and Christiansburg, but this is the whole kind of Southwest Virginia, Richmond on west as a whole. It's a big deal, and it's a flagship school in the state. It's big for the state too. So being able to invest in your major universities is really important. And look at the SEC. I mean, Alabama kind of led the way with this. I know their old president, this was very much his philosophy, was that investing in athletics raises the profile of the entire university, and there's a trickle down effect there that bleeds into application numbers, enrollment numbers, all the things that help the university on the academic side also thrive. And we continue to see Virginia Tech do really well in those, record-setting applicants, record-setting class sizes, all those things. But if you want that to continue, look, the football program and sports are very important for raising the overall profile of the university. So, yeah, I think it's been a huge pro. And like you said, you've seen Virginia Tech in the national news in a positive way more in the last 2 weeks than we have in maybe since the Final Four for the women's side.
I would agree. In terms of the amount of positive press that we've had, it's unprecedented. Completely agree. And yes, it is important to so many people. And you have to get this right. That's why the coaching hire is so important. You're truly at not a breaking point, but like, all right, it's time to saddle up, cowboy, and let's get going. Cons. This is more of a question than it is an outright con. So according to this graph, what this says is in terms of total investment, they have $48.3 million coming from the school from 2026 to 2029. They have 21.3 coming from student fee revenue. So let's just call that the money that's coming from the school or levers that the school can pay. Bridge funding, I have no idea what that means. I don't know if that means it's a loan from the Hokie Club. I don't know if that means that it's money that needs that. I really don't know what bridge funding means. We'll find out on during this presentation, I presume. Now, my con is that last line item, and it's philanthropy. And philanthropy is the largest number. It is $30 million per year. And that makes up for $120 million of the $229 million of the entire pot. So in 2023 to 24, that drive year, so all the donations that athletics saw, we brought in $22.2 million. So I am a little concerned that this money is, they're basically saying, hey guys, great news, new budget. Other side of the news, you're paying for like half of it. And if you include the students, you're also paying for like more than half of it. So this leads me into my first unanswerable question. I'm already thrilled that Witt in this specific situation has made this happen. I will be ready to kiss Witt on the forehead if he has secured some large funding that makes this 30 million look more reasonable. Because right now, if you have not secured some sort of commitment, I personally think 30 million is unreasonable to ask from this fan base. What say you?
My take on the bridge funding is that, yeah, that'll be some sort of loan that I guess the school in this instance will take out as we build our infrastructure in terms of things like whatever the new Hokie club looks like, whatever the new NIL arm looks like, and then other revenue generating streams that they're going to pursue, like possible stadium sponsorship, on-field sponsorship, that kind of thing. So I would assume that's what that bridge funding is. But like you said, we'll hear about it in the Board of Visitors presentation, which by the way is live streamed, so people can watch it next week.
9:30 a.m.
The philanthropy piece is yeah, it's concerning on its face. I need to hear them talk about it more. I don't want to like pass judgment on what's going on. I would be shocked if some large portion of the 120 over a 4-year span is not committed.
I mean large.
I don't know
like
how
50%.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how they could realistically project those numbers without knowing, okay, we've got this in our back pocket. Like we have this card we're going to play here.
Yep.
So that's my hopeful guess, is that they have some amount of this committed behind the scenes, and we'll hear about that as this continues to unfold and is formally voted on and approved. But yeah, if they're projecting $120 million over a 4-year window off of a grassroots, everybody, throw 100 in the bucket, I mean, good luck with that. So these people are way too smart and way too successful to do that.
I hope so.
Based on the bios of these board members, I'd be shocked if that's the route they're going. So I would assume there is some level of large commitment already taken up.
Chief, I will tell you what, I hope you're right too, because there is a lot right. This can't be one of those situations. It actually, here's my opinion. We live in such a perception is reality world. So honestly, probably like 30% of what you wanted to accomplish with this has already been done, because you get the PR win, everybody's celebrating, everybody's like throwing a party, we're fired up. But when agents and coaches start to peel the layers back of, hey, you said this investment, can you tell me a little bit about it? Like, they're going to do their due diligence if they're investigating as a GM or a coach to come here. I still, and I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I have a hard time stomaching that the university is like throwing themselves a party when 70% of this new money is on the backs of students and on the backs of donors. And I say on the backs of donors as well, because he has not said this to me. And if this is how he feels or people like him feel, they would never say it publicly. I think it's bullshit that a lot of people just assume or ask the Mayhuls of the world or the large donors of the world to just bail us out. Like, oh, well, he's got it or they got it. Like, that's why. Would you go into like 7-Eleven and be like, yo, you got my chips? Like, no, bro. Like, that whole situation drives me crazy. And I think those people have answered the bell a lot of times, all of the people that work in Team First with the athletic department. So I truly hope that there are some commitments. If your answer or the university's answer for this is, oh, the donors will do it again, that would piss me off. So I like that's just kind of my thought on it. And that leads me to my first question. Are there state regulations that are holding us back? If there are, understandable. If not, I see no reason why, knowing nothing about state law, I don't understand why the university wouldn't at least match what you're asking donors to put in. Like if you're asking donors to put in $30 million, why can't the university match that $30 million? Right?
Well,
Isn't that crazy?
they're not going to do that. Clearly, I mean,
yeah.
There's a note on one of the slides. I don't have it in front of me, but it said something to the effect of like, no academic programs will be affected by these budget changes. Like they're not moving money from one place to the other.
Mm-hmm.
It basically said it might limit our flexibility moving forward, but nothing is
God
like
forbid.
they're not cutting anything to do this, and they're not going to do that. So, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying about the Mayholes of the world. Mayhole is just public. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Like there are other Mayholes who are not on Instagram and on the boards and all that stuff. But yeah, I agree. The assumption that it's just like, oh, they'll take care of it. They'll grab that that tab. No, they probably won't.
or even for the university to make that assumption pisses me off. And again,
so we'll see.
Again, I don't know what the extent of the levers the university can pull. I am just dubious of 30 million over, like basically adding 10 million to our donations over the next few years when we haven't ever hit that number. So again, if there is some dude out there who has made a pledge, or a plethora of dudes who have made a pledge, or dudettes, either one, if they have made some of these commitments, I will feel a lot better about that $30 million commitment. I'm also curious, like, who knows? Maybe we get on there and they say Philanthropy, the Hokie Club's actually going under the university, and we're going to figure it out as kind of part of the pie of philanthropy surrounding the whole school. I don't know what's going to happen.
I could see that.
What needs to happen?
My guess.
Okay.
They have secured commitments that are front loaded of that 4-year window. I bet you they have some amount of the front end of that taken care of, with the goal to build out that infrastructure you're talking about. What's the new Hokie Club going to look like? Mm-hmm. And in the first year or two, while their butts are covered by a couple big donors, they will build out that new infrastructure with the goal of raising $30 million a year by 2028, 2029. That's my guess, but we'll see. We don't know enough yet. We won't know enough till next Tuesday.
9:30 on Monday, I believe, is the vote. My other last question, of course, we didn't cut any academic stuff. I'm sure every single class and major is extremely important and necessary. Why, and this might, the answer might just be as simple as Title IX. I was pretty surprised that no sports are being cut from what I'm seeing. I'm pretty surprised that we're not seeing, and I don't wish that sports got cut. I just know that Virginia Tech is one of the schools that sponsors a ton of sports. I was pretty surprised that we didn't lose 1, 2, or 3. But again, the bottom line on those is not that crazy. Like if you were to cut a sport, it doesn't make a huge difference.
Yeah. The guys on Tech Sideline talked about that. I was watching their pod earlier today. Like the Virginia Tech total sponsored sports number is kind of like average of the public schools in the league. There's a couple of schools that have way more. So, and then again, like how much the
couple of schools that have way more are in California. There's a couple of schools that have way more, and North Carolina.
That's true. There's always this like, oh, Clemson has so many less. It's not that many less.
It's like 4 or 5, right?
It's like a couple tennis programs and a swim team less. Like it's not like it's crazy overhead inducing programs. So again, I don't get too caught up in that. But yeah, I mean, I think unless college athletics and what's Texas Tech's big donor, Cody Campbell. I've seen him talk about that recently. Like he's the one who's basically funded Texas Tech entirely. Unless we get college athletics as a whole in a better position to be run like a professional sports organization, a professional sports league, that's where this is heading. I just don't think we're there yet. And hopefully we don't get there.
My last question is, what happens if the philanthropy falls short for whatever reason? If in 2027 we're $15 million short of the philanthropy number, or we're $8 million short, or if we're $2 million short, does the university carry the flag there? So that is my guess. That is why I am just hopeful that this is not a situation where the university is trying to look like they care about football, but they're actually asking you to care more about football and give them all the credit. So we will see. We'll learn more details on this on Monday. Excited about that. And I do encourage all of you to, when you're done listening to this podcast and have liked and subscribed, please, if you enjoy, check out David Teal over on Tech Sideline with Andy and David. It was really, really good. They got into some of the nitty gritty there. So some other quick Hokie headlines. I promise we'll get to NC State here soon. Bruce Arians is consulting and lending his expertise to the Hokies hiring committee. That's exciting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the early word on what Virginia Tech's looking for in terms of this new general manager football position is they want somebody with an NFL background, which makes sense because this is becoming more and more professionalized, kind of like we just talked about. So having Bruce Arians and his Rolodex at your disposal, if you're looking in NFL circles, makes all the sense in the world.
Bruce Arians has made some good hires in the past. He hired Byron Leftwich. He hired, who's the head coach of Tampa Bay right now? What's his name?
He hired
Todd
Tom
Bowles?
Brady. That helped too.
Yes, Tom Brady, Todd
Bowles.
Bowles. So he's done well for himself.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles had a hilarious moment in his press conference this week. They asked him about what his relationship is like with one of his players, and he said, "We're actually secret lovers." I thought that was funny.